The point is, don't put yourself in compromising situations where you're going to have to face that temptation. Sometimes it's better yet to not even put yourself into that position. Martin Luther, guy that led the Protestant Reformation, he had this great theory and great analogy about this. He said, don't get next to the fire if your head is made of butter. Stay away from the fire if your head is made of butter. What does he mean by that? What he means by that is if you get too close to the fire, even though the fire temperature doesn't change, it doesn't matter if you're 10 feet away from the fire or 1 foot away from the fire temperature is still the same, right? But your close proximity to the fire has a negative impact on you, especially if your head is made of butter, right? And so the closer we get to temptation, the closer we are to the source of that thing that can destroy us and consume us and devour our lives. So better to stay away from that source, right? Because that temperature ain't changing. If your head is made of butter, what do? Get away from the fire. And spiritually speaking, we all have butter heads. Like you walk out of the church, you got a butter head, you know? You have butter head. You spiritually speaking, you're a sinner. You have a sinful nature, and your tendency is you're prone to wander. You're prone to get caught up in your manly, your womanly desires, and you just go off the deep end if you're not careful. And that's what happens here. I've heard it said that it's hard to pick forbidden fruit from miles away. Isn't that cool? It's really hard. If you just put a bunch of safeguards in your life, it's really difficult just to go from point A to point Z in one stretch, one decision. It's not one decision. It's a series of decisions. And you can see that collectively play out in David's life. It was a series of decisions that he made. Better example, maybe it's just for me, but from my childhood, one of my childhood heroes was Mr. Miyagi. Any Mr. Miyagi fans, Karate Kid fans, just raise your hand, be proud about it. It's okay. But remember what Mr. Miyagi said to Daniel's son when Daniel's son was trying to not get beat up all the time? He says, how do I avoid a punch? I want to teach me how to avoid a punch. And Mr. Miyagi said, best way to avoid a punch, in his words, no be there when punch is thrown. No be there. Just don't be there. Don't be in the area of temptation when it strikes. If you don't want to get throat punched by temptation, don't be there, right?